If you could leave me with one piece of advice, what would it be?
You are your own worst enemy. You waste precious time dreaming of the future instead of engaging in the present. Since nothing seems urgent to you, you're only half involved in what you do.
400 trillion to 1. The odds of becoming a human being.
75 years. That's how much time you get if you're lucky. 75 years, 75 winters, 75 springtimes, 75 summers, and 75 autumns. When you look at it like that, it's not a lot of time, is it?
We all get exactly the same amount of time. Exactly.
Time is so precious and it's fleeting.
Why would you not go for it? Why would you not take a chance?
Life is shorter than you think.
Betray your destiny and see how long it takes you to be drowning in a storm.
Seneca said, while we wait for life, life passes.
It's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big questions. Who are you? And what do you want?
Is your life in your hands, yes or no?
Yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is why it is called the present.
We call this go into the silence. Go and sit down quietly by yourself for 30 to 60 minutes. 30 to 60 minutes. Most people in our society have never sat quietly for 30 to 60 minutes in their entire lives. Yet I will tell you this method works 100% of the time. That any problem that you have, any difficulty, any challenge, any goal that you want to accomplish, if you'll go into the silence and sit quietly and then listen to the still small voice within. Listen to the still small voice within. You will find that at a certain point, probably at about 25 to 30 minutes, your mind will go completely clear. And then a flow of ideas will start to flow into your mind. You'll feel energy welling up inside you. And at a precise moment, as you sit there in complete silence, no cigarettes, no coffee, no music, nothing, just complete silence, at a particular moment, your mind will go clear and wham, exactly the answer you need will come at exactly the right time. And if you will get up and go and carry out that answer, it will turn out to be exactly perfect.
You know, the fact that life is short and can be brutal can terrify you into hiding and avoiding, but it can also, you can flip that on its head and understand that since you're all in anyways, you might as well take the risks that are adventurous. And that's a very good thing to understand. And what is also useful to understand in that manner is that there isn't anything more adventurous than the truth.
What our life is a combination of a certain amount of time and energy. Time is rolling away for all of us at the same pace. If you sit, it rolls away, if you sleep, it rolls away, if you do something, it goes away, if you don't do anything, it goes away. You're happy or miserable, it goes away. Time is running out for all of us.
Okay, you're 25 and you're thinking, wow, I've got 10 years to figure it all out. I've got all these vistas of time. I'm young, I'm healthy, etc. You don't have nearly as much time as you think you do. It goes very fast. So you need a sense of urgency and energy.
When you understand that your days are counted, that your days are limited, you begin to work with urgency towards your goals. You begin to work with urgency towards the things that you want in life. People say, well, I'll start tomorrow, or I'll get started when the new year hits. It doesn't work that way. Life passes you by with no urgency, but day by day. And so many people live and wake up like accidents that they forget this beautiful principle that life is in your control, and if you want to experience a certain type of outcome in a certain type of future, you must input the necessary labor today.
Don't waste your time. Do you know that everybody alive gets exactly the same amount of time we get all there is? It's what we do with it that makes the difference. Don't waste your life. Set your goals high. Quit thinking about what's wrong. Start thinking what's right. Love a little more, hate a little less. You have no idea what you're capable of doing. Make up your mind today, you're going to figure it out.
There is something which is in your hands, and there is something which is not in your hands. So that means even if, let's say, even if it is written in the stars, this is like, maybe it's the destiny. But you are not putting the work down. You are not waking up early in the morning, you're not answering the emails, you don't educate yourself, you don't understand how the processes are working, none of this. Then even if destiny is maybe written down, but it's still not going to happen. Because your actions that you are doing are not fitting to what is, let's say, written down to your destiny.
What's calling you to be your best is exactly the thing that's pushing you forward to manifest yourself most fully in the world. It's what you need. You run away from that, the boat's going to start to rock very, very quickly.
You want to improve? You want to get better? You want to get on a workout program or a clean diet? You want to start a business? You want to write a book or make a movie or build a house or a computer or put together some mobile application? Where do you start? You start right here. And when do you start? You start right now. You initiate the action aggressively. You go. Because the idea isn't going to execute itself. And the book isn't going to write itself. And the weights out in the gym, they're not going to move themselves. You have to do it, and you have to do it now. And that means you got to stop thinking about it and stop dreaming about it and stop researching every aspect of it and reading all about it and debating the pros and cons of it. Just start doing it.
You must be the master of your own kingdom. There needs to be some period in your day where you remember that there's a world out there trying to tell you who you are, and there's a world in here that's trying to tell you who you are. Now, where do you want to put your eggs?
The more I listen to this, the better my life gets. If they don't have what you want, don't listen to what they say. There's no greater waste of time than justifying your actions to people who have a life you don't want.
The two major emotions that wrestle within us all the time are fear versus desire. World Championship goes on over and over again. Your fears that hold you back, your desires that propel you forward. Now, how do you turn this equation so that your desires win? Very simple. You use the law of concentration, and you think about what you want all the time. You dwell on what you want all the time. You keep your mind fixed on your desires. You become totally preoccupied with what you want, and as we said before, your fears have a tendency to dwindle. But whichever thing you think about, if you think about your fears or you think about your desires, whichever one you think about, by the law of emotion, is going to determine your actions, and your actions will determine your outcomes.
Understand that you have one life. How you live it is your choice, but life will pass you by. You don't want to be the person that wakes up 30, 40, 50 years from now and regrets what they did.
The biggest poison in us is regret. It's poison.
We don't spend enough time thinking about the big questions. We kind of give up on them when we're very, very young. You know, a little child might ask the big questions like, why are we here? What's the meaning of life? What is this all about? You know, is there Santa Claus? Is there God? But then as adults, we're taught not to think about these things, or we've given up on them. But I think the big questions are the big questions for good reasons. And if you can keep the idea in front of you at all times that you're going to die and that everything goes literally to zero, what's there to stress about?
No matter what you are going through in life, how sad you are, how much pain you're feeling, the trauma that you're going through, you are strong enough to see another day.
If you had to do it all over again,
would you make the same choices?
What choice? We can't run from who we are. Our destiny chooses us.
Have you ever had this thing where you wake up, early in the morning when nobody else is awake and you start pondering possibilities? Where you start pondering okay, and some of those possibilities are about what you need to change in your life and that sort of thing. But then some of them start to expand into how it really could be. And you think you're dreaming, but you get the sense that it could actually be real. What I'd like to invite you to is the possibility that if we choose it, living that way could actually be real.
You've been manipulated into believing that there is some other version of you that is better, more lovable, that there's some other version of you that's able to produce in a more effective way. And notice I used the word manipulation. It wasn't by accident. You have been convinced fundamentally that you as you are the problem. Well, while the world convinces you of that, I'm here to tell you that you as you are is the solution. That you as you are is the solution. Because every single one of you in this room represents an infinite potential and a possibility that I can't even quantify in words.
A good book is only ever a book that you're reading at the right moment. And the right moment is going to be a bizarre confluence of needs and also a readiness to grow in a certain direction. I mean, there are moments in our life where somebody will tell you something and you're, in inverted commas, not ready to hear it. In other words, the idea, though correct, may be so threatening and so potentially destructive to the way in which you've ordered your life at that time that you are not ready to take it on board, even though maybe 10 years later, you've grown more solid in areas and you can take it on board. A lot of good ideas are both good but also anxiety provoking. In other words, if we were really to listen to them and take them in deep, we'd have to change things about our lives. Maybe we'd need to get out of a relationship or into a relationship, change jobs, change our likes and dislikes. And sometimes we're not ready to make those intellectual kind of transitions. And so we need to block our ears.
And I think the way people look at the world right now, because it's such an incredible time, is actually the quickest tell to who they are. If you think it sucks or it's bad, you have losing pessimistic DNA. And if you think it's awesome and phenomenal, you have optimistic winning DNA. And I believe that to be true.
All it takes is somebody wanting to take a step. And there are certain things that a lot of people in this world are sitting there thinking in their minds and they're just not gonna do. Like, I used to always try to pull a lot of people and be like, you can do this, you can do this. But the people that hear that motivation over and over again, sometimes they take that step. Some people just have it in them. Early, it just starts and they just get in the muscle memory of just doing things. And if you fail, so what? You start over, you do it again. But most people, that fear of failure is the thing that I think prevents them from really being successful. And then also it's like a lot of other things that are just difficult to do. When you tell people the answer to success, it's a lot of hard stuff. You got to work hard, right? Nobody wants to hear that. Everybody wants a shortcut, Some people understand that. They appreciate the progress, If you tell people right now, hey, if you want to lose this many pounds, this is what you got to do. There's no short solution.
Lessons are what they are. You learn from them. And so I don't have a bad life because I had that experience. I have a great life because I had the experience. But you learn from your experiences. And that's what a lot of people don't do. They complain about it, but they don't want to learn from it. And that's a stubbornness that they have to stop.
There was a moment where you first felt like you weren't enough. And from that moment, you have been trying to prove through every single action that you are. Do you understand this? You have been trying to prove through every single action that you are. Do you get this? Okay, that's what your whole life has been about. That's what your whole life has been. That's why anxiety and depression is at an all-time high. And that's why suicide is upticking at a rate that's just startling. People just don't know any other way other than to end their lives. Well, how about we don't end our life? How about we just end our suffering? How about we just end our suffering? How about we find a way to finally be at peace in who we are, so we're not anxious about the future that has yet to come into existence? How about that? And how about we finally have the courage to relax into the love that we are, the abundance that we are, the health and well-being that we are, the totality of the truth that we are, so that we no longer have to wrestle with this thing called depression.
I say get out of any environment that's negative to your potential dreams. You know, and I tell people that because I'm gonna tell you something. A parent could be negative, your kids could be negative, your wife or girlfriend, your partner could be negative, your minister could be negative, because you have to realize that a lot of people can't understand your vision. It means they're not going to give you advice. They're going to hold you back. They're going to set points of doubt in your mind. And that's important for you to understand, that is that so many people right now are being held back by people who say they love them. If you want to achieve success, everybody around you have to accept the responsibility of the success that you're trying to achieve. If they don't believe in it, you'll never win with that person. So you have to surround yourself with people who think like you, walk like you, talk like you, eat like you. But you got to have people who believe in your thought process, your dreams, your work ethic. Otherwise, you will not win.
You know, we, in our culture, we speak so highly of thinking. We're always saying, like, thinking is good, reading is good, taking on ideas is good. Yes, but sometimes we're not ready for it because we're scared. You know, intellectual laziness is fear. There's no such thing as laziness, it's just fear. You're afraid that some things you might hit upon might open doors through which you are not keen to walk at that time. And so when people, you know, sometimes they're in a mood when all they can do is check Twitter and look out of the window and not focus in on themselves in any way, and they need to be distracted. It's frequently because there's an insight that they are resisting. And I think we can be generous towards that need to resist it. Like, maybe that insight is too big. They can't think about it.
What if you could engage fully with all of reality and realize that part of the gift that you are is to take this reality that we have that's like this thing that everybody aligns and agrees with, that everybody's decided is real, and that our job and our possibility and our capacity is to make it more like this.
You're gonna only be so pretty, you're only gonna be so smart, there's things that are gonna be natural, and then there's things that you can actually control. I do believe, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong, I don't, but I do believe that work ethic is a taught behavior. It's something you do have more control over. You know, I worked every Saturday of my 20s. And I talk to 20-year-old entrepreneurs every single day. Lately, I've been saying to them, this Saturday, you're gonna have more time off than I've had in my entire 20s on a Saturday. So before you tell me how you're gonna be bigger than me, start thinking about what you're actually doing.
You know, when you're chiseling on a rock, you know, you could chisel for a long time, and you could chisel 100 times, 200 times, 300 times, and it won't break. And then when you get to 5,000 times, it finally breaks. But all the work that you did is what made it break.
And that's the key right there, because people allow other people's limitation and vision to be introduced into their dreams will alter the course. That negative message to creep into your dream, it will slow it down or it can alter the direction. That's why people are sitting at home, not happy, working in jobs, they're not happy. And then guess what? They take that negative spirit that affects them physically. And guess what? Eventually can lead to, guess what? A disappointing life, physically and mentally.
You know, one way of looking at unhappiness is people who are in one way or another in a tunnel. They say, the only way to live is this way. They're not happy with it, but it seems the only way. I've got to love this person, though it's not making me happy. I've got to do this job, though it's a prison. I've got to live in this place, though I don't like it. And, you know, we can unpick some of those things and say, really, is that absolutely necessary? Where human beings are brilliant at building themselves cages and throwing away the key.
The definition for consciousness is where everything and everyone exists and no one and nothing is judged. But then you look and you go, yeah, but if I don't judge this, how am I going to change it? You know how you're going to change it? From not judging it and asking a question like, what else is possible here? What can I be? What can I choose? What can I do? What can I create that actually creates a different possibility here?
So how do we move forward? By doing the opposite of what everyone is telling you need to do. How do we find peace? Stop trying to find peace. Be happy with what you have. Be at peace with what you have, because at that point you'll never be deluded, you'll never be manipulated, and you'll never be moved out of your power center, your core, who you are. And that's my deepest wish for you, because the truth cannot be understood. It can only be experienced. And who you are cannot be quantified. Who you are cannot be measured. Who you are cannot be put in a box. You're not a metric. You're a person. You're human. You're alive, and you matter.
I am enough. But enough of what? Every time I hear those words, I feel like they keep getting stuck up in my head, conflicting with all the words that I've said to myself on repeat for most of my life. Yeah, I haven't been very nice to myself. Bottom to top, I spent most of my time focused on why I was not enough. Flat feet, too slow. Chicken legs won't grow. Like self-deprecation was an occupation, I went pro long ago. And I know that the mind learns through repetition. And no matter how quiet I speak, it's always around to listen. Creating the vision of who I am based on my self-talk. So why not speak what I can and stop all the can-nots? Because I got a lot of knots. I thought a lot of thoughts that brought a lot of nada, so I fought to make them stop. And I finally gave my ego what it wanted, and I told it what I am not. I am not dumb. I am not ugly. I am not giving up. I am not weak. I will get back on my feet no matter how much I slip up. I am not broken, I am not afraid, and so when the going gets tough, I can see what I am not, and it reminds me I am enough. I am enough strength to overcome any obstacle placed in my way. I am enough courage to keep my heart open after heartbreak. I am enough will to get through any hard day. I am enough fun to turn all my work into play. I am enough pride to not be torn down by what others say, and I am enough humility to own up to all my mistakes. And it doesn't take a special ability, just a perspective shift to go through this list and always remember this. For everything I'm not, there's something that I am. For everything I can't, there's something that I can. I can be happy. I can be free. I can be authentic. In fact, I'm already me. And I am so grateful and proud of me and everything I am. And so for the rest of my life, I will do whatever I can to remember that, yeah, I am not a lot of stuff, but there's one thing I am. I am enough.
Everyone is going to build their self-esteem around something. And being able to identify what you build your self-esteem around is critical. Once you identify what it is that you're proud of that makes you feel good about who you are, you need to ask yourself one very simple question. Does that move me towards my goals or not?
When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of distress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me and without any pain.
In a way, we're still all looking for our identity. You know, you might know that you're British, you might know that you're Haitian, but who am I, though, you know, amongst that? Who am I beyond my social class?
Fundamental illusion is because we have been told that we need to become someone in order to feel worthy. We have to discover who it is we are, that this journey is to do more, become more, achieve more, perfect more. All of it is a lie. It's part of the capitalism. When you realize that we have been living in this bubble, it's a bubble. When you realize that this dimension is predicated on fear.
People who want their idea to be the right idea without regard for whether or not it moves everybody towards the stated goal, those are people who have built their self-esteem around the fragile desire to be right, to be smart, to be better, right? And it is super fragile, because as soon as you encounter somebody better, smarter, faster, stronger, instead of learning from them, being inspired by them, they're diminishing you because you're comparing yourself to them in a really ignorant way that doesn't move you towards your goal.
And a lot of times what you're really good at is right in front of you. What you're really great at is right in front of you. And to recognize that your calling and your purpose can change. That it can change. You have a long lifetime. It's not going to be the same calling the whole time. And so allow yourself to evolve. Allow your purpose to evolve. What's that thing you do effortlessly that you give no credit to?
The driving force behind that type of attitude, at least it was for me, was fear and anger. Anger that I want to prove myself. We're there, or anger, we have something to prove. There's fear that you're not going to make it, that you're not going to be somebody, that you're not going to be able to take care of the people you love. And with that comes the arrogance, at least for me, came the arrogance of nothing's going to stop me, I can do anything.
Could it be as that the suffering that we go through, someone who cheats on us, or someone who steals from us, or a business failure, or a broken heart, or someone who is unkind to us, is in fact an element that our soul wanted us to experience, so we discover our gift that we are meant to bring to the world.
What would you be reading about, even in neutral? What would you be doing if you didn't need to do it? What's that thing you turn to for pleasure when you've got free time? That's the thing that you should be doing.
A lot of times, your gift and your purpose, you've discounted it. Either because someone else discounted it, or what's more common is you don't know how to monetize it. And sometimes the greatest gift you have to give is not for fee, it's for free.
Because we are living under a cloud of the same delusion. Now, there's no harm in living under the cloud. The harm comes in thinking that that's the right way to be, and that's where the toxicity starts. When we give to our next generation our way to be, we can see how we've been set up to be anxious, to be a generation of great anxiety, because we have been set up on categorical duality. All of our life is predicated on labels, judgments, a way to be good and bad.
People are truly passionate about what they do. You just get a chemical rush. You get the energy. You become more resourceful. When someone who doesn't have passion because they don't really want to be there anyway, they will give up way easier because they're not having a good time. It's not in them. Don't try to change the world unless you seek change the way a man whose head is on fire seeks a pond.
When meaning is given to suffering, it ceases to become suffering. So I want you to pay attention to this idea. Very often when we find our values, the fascinating thing that happens is the pain that we once were attached to in the past disappears.
I say most people can see, but not everyone has vision. What that means to me is, if you have a desire to be successful, you better be just as in love with failure. Like, I love failing. I just wake up every day and see how many times I can fail. Yeah, I have no problem with it, because failure will introduce you to success. You got a lot of people who are afraid to fail. You know, some days we have to wake up and put out fires before we can even get to the brick.
Once you have perception about something, something happened, it definitely informs your view of the world. And now you are the director, not only of that story, but you are the director. You are the only one in control of how you want to maneuver that story. Your story sometimes has a lot of layers and depths to it. For some of you, some of those layers and emotions and emotional baggage is still there to process. That's yours to process.
And it's my job to give the world the best example of how I like to be treated. Celebrate yourself, forgive yourself, cut the shackles, and then commit to yourself before you commit to anyone else.
Money is less and less motivating the more and more you get of it. Missions, on the other hand, the closer and closer you get to making it real, the more momentum you have behind accomplishing your mission, the more energy you have, the more people you can attract to your mission. And it just keeps going, and it's a virtuous cycle.
Because life as we know it is life as we know it. So if life becomes life as we don't know it, there's great fear. So as long as we never pull, question, look under the rug, look behind the corners, look beneath the shadows, we will not awaken. To awaken means to look and see things as they really are, to see the source of where, how you believe has come to be. Dare to go behind and beyond the matrix.
I honestly believe that if people are not calling you crazy, your dream isn't big enough.
I have nothing to prove. I have nothing to protect. I have nothing to hide. And I have nothing to defend. That your perception of me after I tell my truth is actually none of my business. My perception of me, that I go to bed as whole and complete as I woke up. Before I check how many likes I have on Facebook, that I like me first, and every other like is bonus.
If you've got the guts to be you, somewhere deep inside that person, even if they show you nothing but hate, they respect you so much because they're afraid to be themselves. But they want to be so desperately. So if you ever wonder why, the people who attack you most aggressively are the people who see in you something that they can't have.
So your pain is often the breadcrumbs to your values, and those values become the guiding light for your purpose on the planet. Because what often happens is that the pain gives us a glimpse of what we want to heal and fix in the world, so that other generations and other people we love do not have to experience that pain.
Fear. Future,
events that aren't real. You're basically imaging something that isn't real, but yet you're feeling these negative emotions.
You go through these spiral notebooks of your life, and you realize, this is how I learned. This is unbelievable. And you realize through hard work, you can outwork anybody.
One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery over oneself. And if that's the game that we're playing, if I can construct my belief system, if I can choose at any moment to believe something that's more empowering than I was believing the moment before, and that will actually find its way into my actions.
Number one, you suffer because you don't know who you are. You confuse yourself with your body-mind experience. Number two, you grasp and cling at experiences which are evanescent and transitory and dreamlike. You say, what happened to your childhood? It's over. What happened to yesterday? It's over. What happened to 5 minutes ago? It's over. What happens to these words? By the time you hear them, they don't exist. We are asleep. Our life is a dream, but once in a while we wake up enough to know that we are dreaming. So what do you wake up to?
That's why it's really important not to think in the past, to live in the past, to beat yourself up over the past. You know, I try to completely forget the past, live in the present, but look forward to the future.
I think when somebody has a setback, that number one, you have to become awake again, because a setback can just really put you in a daze. You know, what takes place so many times is that people they stay in that daze and they're not awake. So you have to become awake, and number two, you have to become aware. So you're awake, but now be aware, like, what's going on around me?
You gotta start diving into those things that you're afraid of. You don't gain confidence by going to a spot that makes you feel good. It's gonna be a false reality. And the second life gives you that challenge, or what gave you confidence, is that happy spot. It gives you confidence, not being afraid. It's overcoming the fear.
Well, I do believe that our outer self, our body, is a manifestation of our inner belief systems. The inner image that you have of yourself is pretty much what you see on the outside.
To me, the very fundamental purpose of life is to find out how many skills I can acquire that have utility, and then put that utility to the test in service of something greater than myself. Nobody will act for the many, but people will act for the one.
We've all made decisions, maybe, that weren't the best, but the only decision you can make at that time. You just got to let go of it. You got to completely let go. So that when you do come to your end and you meet your maker, if you believe in something higher, you just absolutely can have no regret whatsoever. Things were the way they were, and you just accept yourself for exactly who and what you were.
This is the biggest question that humans or everybody should be asking. Who am I? What am I? Am I the changing experience of this body, which is a perceptual activity? Am I the experience of the changing mind? What is it at the basis of this? When you start that reflective self-inquiry, ask yourself, who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? What am I grateful for?
My cookie jar has every single failure and success of my life, something I overcame. So what happens in time of life when you're stressed out and things get bad, even the hardest guy in the world, I will, in my mind, reach into my cookie jar, and sometimes you forget how hard you are in times of need. I calm down, take that 1 second, get control of my life, reach in the cookie jar, reset my mind. You have to remind yourself of how badass you really are.
There's a proverb that says, he who works his land will have abundance. But if you chase fantasies, you lack wisdom. And people say, well, what's your land? Your land is what's in front of you. You got to plant the seed, you got to water the seed, and then you reap a harvest. You got to plow, and you got to plant the right seeds. See, every day you got negative seeds and positive seeds. And people that are selfish, man, you're just planting negative seeds that are not going to come back positive. So when you plow and you plant the right seeds and you water them, which is repetition, it doesn't look like it's going to grow. And all of a sudden, man, payday is on its way.
A lot of times I'll be in a 200-mile run or something like that, and I'm all jacked up. Body's broken, mind's broken, spirit's broken. I start to say, what if I can pull this off?
This too shall pass. Whatever you're feeling, whether you're feeling great or whether you're feeling terribly, it's going to pass. But if truly you could never feel good about yourself ever again, why would you want to go on? Even serving other people, you do it in part because of how beautiful it feels. So helping people understand that that will pass, that there will be something beautiful again waiting for them. Whenever you look at somebody that's been successful, do not allow yourself to make them extraordinary at your expense. You're capable of whatever it is that they're capable of.
A big part of finding out what's right for you is stop confining yourself to a path that you've been convinced is the path.
You are purpose as a person. That's what I've been saying. When I said that, it kind of changed my life. So I say, I am purpose. If you're looking for a miracle, you're that miracle.
There are invisible forces that shape our life, shape our destiny. We believe hallucination that the physical reality is all there is. Every time something's extraordinary, every time it's extraordinary. We don't know where we are, we know when we are, but we know why we are.
You know, we always learn about the blocks of success, the steps of success, the principles of success, you know, the actions of success, the words of success. I know more about failure than anyone. And there's as much to learn from failure as there is from success.
All the things you can control and then the things you can't control. If you try to start controlling things that you can't, you're just gonna get frustrated and angry and anxious, right? Mm-hmm. But the only things you can control are your thoughts and your actions, and that is it. That is it. So you have this choice. You try and control all this other stuff, or you could just decide that it's fine, that everything else is fine.
And our feelings are the most real thing we have, and we push them down. We find all this stuff to buy or eat or drink or take to keep us, like John Lennon said, comfortably numb. But then the feelings regroup and come back because they've always got a job to do. Look, you've got to feel the feeling until it no longer requires to be felt.
Very much so, go to school, and get married and have kids, and that's a success. And really stepping outside of that and exploring, whether that's in school and taking classes that you might not take at first glance, whether it's going and experiencing different types of arts, meeting different types of people, making new friends. I think there's so much out there that you don't even know exists.
You know, if I ever feel like in any moment life is not going the way that I think it should be going, it's because I'm resisting what is.
I always say, like, if fear was a door and behind this door was all this negativity things that I'm saying, like I'm gonna lose, I'm gonna suck, I'm never gonna walk through that door. So in order for me to walk through the door, even though the door is super scary, I have to make empowering things on this side of the door, right? I'm gonna learn, I'm gonna grow. Even if I don't win, it's gonna be something valuable in it. So let me walk through this door, right? Even though it might not be perfect, I'm still gonna find growth inside of it.
Unless you claim extraordinary, ordinary claims you.
If you wake up tomorrow morning and blame the government, the environment, the weather, you know, Joe Blow, if you blame anything or anyone else, you have no reason to change. But if you blame yourself, you're not gonna like it. Right. So what happens that morning in the mirror? Do you look at the mirror and do you blame something else or do you blame yourself?
Every single moment is an opportunity for us to check ourselves before we wreck ourselves. And so I just try and play the game. If I'm miserable, if I'm upset, if I'm angry, if I'm cranky, it is my responsibility because it's based on what I'm thinking or believing in that moment.
People out there that are going through fearful moments, it's kind of like this. You will never step into the ring if you're already telling yourself that you're gonna lose before the fight. You'll never do that. Like, why would you? Right? So tell yourself you're gonna win. Even if you get knocked down, guess what? You're never knocked out in life until you actually tap out to your last day.
Got to convince them that their fears shouldn't hold them back. That, you know, using the excuse of scarcity or consequence or ego or any of these things holds us back from our future.
So for me, the first step is just opening yourself up to new experiences and new role models. Because most of us can't see ourselves in people, so then we try and fit ourselves into the boxes that we do see.
Fear is creating a known result from a situation you haven't experienced yet.
We are wired to like what is familiar and to resist what's unfamiliar. So we have this wiring that says, run towards what's familiar and run away from what's unfamiliar. And the most important thing to make familiar is praising yourself. That's, if you could just do that, that in itself would change your entire life.
So we live in this perception of ourselves. Hence, my identity is made by what my parents think I should be. My identity is made up by what my college or university thinks I should achieve. While you're living in that bubble and that echo chamber, getting to what you really want to do is impossible.
150,000 people die every day. Tomorrow is not promised. So if I'm not going after it, then I'm gonna die incomplete. I'm gonna die being a person that I wasn't created to be. Like, I wanna meet the greatest me. I wanna meet my full potential.
The relationship between my essential nature, the nature of who I am, and my authentic nature and the energy and the environment. The environment is always trying to break you down. And if you're comfortable, then you become an agent of what your parents told you, the culture told you, and everything else. And your stories are protected. And even if you get successful, you're gonna drop it out and you're gonna lose it out because you wanna make sure nothing really changes.
One idea of that there is a version of you that's out there somewhere that you want to clear everyone out of the way so you can just, you know, focus on that. And then there's the other completely conflicting impulse, which is, well, maybe the best version of myself, rather than being out there somewhere which I'm never going to reach, is actually, yeah, maybe the self is something that extends and is sort of active and fluid and extends out into the relationships.
I'm scared of failure, or I'm scared to do it in the first place, or I'm scared, I'm worried, I'm fearful. But if we stop and think about it, somebody else has been in the same position as you, if not thousands of people, and they got past the fear.
Every word you say is a blueprint that your mind, body, and psyche are working to make your reality. So we make our thoughts, and our thoughts make us. Then we go out into the world and we justify our thoughts every day.
Greatest power is to be self-controlled, to be able to train the mind and energy to focus it exactly where you want it and when you want it to be. You are completely detached and undeterred from external ups and downs. You're able to navigate anything that seems tough, challenging, fun, excitement, without being too excited in pleasure or being too depressed in pain.
Gain leverage, right, in your life. Like, what's something that's gonna make you move? That's all you have to do is move. Take that first step. That's the most important step in the journey. And listen, you're gonna fall on your face, you're gonna be embarrassed, but everybody who's experienced greatness has been through that.
I define pain as any uncomfortable experience or circumstance that interrupts your ability to be present in the magic of the moment.
When it comes to gifts, think about it like this. Like, when someone gives you a physical gift, like Christmas and your birthday, what do? You unwrap it, you show it to the world, you put it on Instagram. You got that same gift inside you that the world needs. And you're doing the world a disservice by leaving your gift wrapped up.
Fear, but I understand what the emotion of fear is. It's a subconscious trigger that causes this feeling that I don't like. And it's a go signal for me, not a stop signal for me.
But when you say I'm enough, its strength is its simplicity and its honesty. Because you are enough. You're not your weight, your shape, your size, your bank account, your childhood. And the thing is, when you say it, and really say it, speak it, and let it in, people pick up you're enough.
Today, I'm not what I think I am. I'm not what you think I am. I am what I think you think I am.
The most important step we'll ever take in life is our next one. A lot of us get our feet stuck in concrete. We get our feet stuck in concrete because we're afraid to make enemies. We're afraid to speak what's on our mind. We're afraid of being in that group of people. And when you walk away, we're afraid of what they might say behind your back. All that fear clouds your brain, clouds your thinking. One thing in life, you're gonna always have haters. Embrace them. You are your own hero. You are your own leader. You are your own master. Learn one thing. Shut the noise out. Embrace the fact that people don't like you. It means you're doing something right. We idolize so many people, and we want to be them. We want to be someone else. And in doing that, you lose all the potential of who you are. You be them, you are them, you become them, and you lose you. You must hold yourself accountable, and being your own hero, that's what that does. You make yourself so totally accountable for who you are. You focus on you and only on you to become the best person you can be for others.
If you start with the presumption that there's a baseline of suffering in life and that can be exaggerated as a consequence of human failing, as a consequence of malevolence and betrayal and self-betrayal and deceit and all those things that we do to each other and ourselves that we know that aren't good, that amplifies the suffering. That's sort of the baseline against which you have to work. And it's contemplation of that often that makes people hopeless and depressed and anxious and overwhelmed and all of that, and they have the reasons. But you need something to put up against that. And what you put up against that is meaning. Meaning is actually the instinct that helps you guide yourself through that catastrophe. And most of that meaning is to be found in the adoption of responsibility.
People are looking for the excuse, and the truth is the excuse is completely valid, but that's still not going to change your circumstance. So the test is not whether or not you know the reasons for not succeeding. The test is whether or not you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that next level. And a big part of the whatever it takes actually is just remain teachable. Just be a student of the game, a student of life, a student of those who've achieved.
Wanting to become extraordinary, to transform yourself into something that is truly undeniable, to become so good that they can't ignore you. I believed that my talent and intelligence were fixed traits. I was born a certain way, and life is about making the most of what I've been born with. What I did not yet understand is the reason humans are the ultimate apex predator. The reason that we have taken over the globe in a way that no other species has is because we are the ultimate adaptation machine. Neither the strongest of the species that survive nor the most intelligent, but rather the most adaptive to change.
Stay on the goddamn path and be careful. If you were better, the people around you would be less worse than they are. And if you were good enough, you don't know how much better the people around you would be. If you don't understand that you could do that, then you don't know who you are.
If you stop, you get the emotion, you don't get the progress. So if you talk to any decent athlete, they'll tell you that where the pain starts is when the work starts. Talk to any decent entrepreneur that's built a large-scale business, they'll tell you the shit they had to go through. So you either get the emotion or you get the progress, but you can't have both.
What you build your self-esteem around matters. And whether you realize it or not, each and every one of you has something that sits at the core of how you feel about yourself. And from that, your identity, your sense of self-worth, your self-esteem, it is all built around that thing.
Happy exists in a binary. Happy, sad, positive, negative, pessimist, optimist. Those are all binaries. Joy wraps its arms around the full spectrum of the human experience. Joy is when you see how fragile, temporary, fleeting this experience is. Joy is we're here, and we're in this moment.
I think it's really important. I think this idea of identity is just so powerful. When somebody asks the question, who are you? How do you answer that question?
Things that are robust, that are strong, that are tough, that can take just a lot of abuse before they break, they are still ultimately defined by their breaking point. Something that is anti-fragile, on the other hand, is something that the more you attack it, the more it is pounded on, the stronger it gets. Now imagine being able to build a belief system, the thing that you build your self-esteem around. If all of that were tied to something that is truly anti-fragile, that the more somebody comes after it, the more robust it becomes. Being a learner is that answer.
You come face to face with just how fleeting this experience is, and it heightens your gratitude and appreciation for what you do have right now.
Make no mistake about it, like the first noble truth of Buddhism, life is suffering. This is true, and it's worse than that because it's suffering contaminated by malevolence. That's the baseline. And so that's very pessimistic. But the optimistic part is that you are so damn tough, you can actually not only deal with that, you can improve it.